So first things first, and when I look out of the room, when I look at all of you, one of the things that happens is I get really excited because all of you are here, and it's not just about my ability to sit here and facilitate with you, and that's going to be a key term, with you, but it's also because it's very important because you have invested time, and we'll be talking about that a lot, investing your time in yourself in thinking about how you can do more with your time. And so as Vinny said, I've been in the field of learning and development, and the first thing I like to say is there are so many different ways that we have to enhance our own effectiveness, and today we're going to look at that through the lens of time management. Now, none of us, I would hazard a guess that none of you are short on work, short on ideas, and short on opportunities. But what we are short on is that focused strategic time. And as the slide says up here, business happens and we have to get certain things done, but what gets pushed to the wayside, which tends to be the things that are really probably more higher priority, but they tend not to be all that urgent. And those are some of the things we're going to talk about today. So it won't be about getting you to do more, but it's going to be about helping you to do what matters most. How to be more productive, how to make some tweaks to some of the great things you're already doing. And as you look to the person to your left and you look to the person to your right, it will also be about sharing some of the things that each of you have found successful when you are trying to, and for now I'll say, manage your time. So one of the things I want you to do is if you look in your handout, past the cover page, right there's a page called a reflection. And so at your tables, I want you just to take a couple minutes and really kind of focus on that second question. It's like, first of all, what is stealing your time? And then that second question, if you had more time, what could you or would you do? So go ahead, just talk at your tables for a few minutes. This is not a test, by the way. I won't be asking you. Okay, I know that was just a minute or two to talk about it, but I'm going to go ahead and stop you, and I'll ask you to raise your hand if you said there's nothing else that I could do if I had more time. If you are, I'm going to hand you the microphone, and I'm going to have a seat. Yeah. They're like, no, not so much. So when you think about what we're talking about here in terms of time management, and you see the slide up there, I want you to change that paradigm of your thinking. First of all, look to your left, look to your right, look to other tables. All of us, we only have 24 hours in a day. Nobody in here has 25. We would like that extra hour, but the reality is, no, we don't have that. And so what we have to look at is how do we manage what we do in those 24 hours. And of course you need time to eat, sleep, and enjoy, relax, and do those things, let alone the work side of it. But what we need to start to think about is really making this paradigm shift. It's really not about managing time. It's about managing ourselves in relation to time. It's about those priorities. When you are sitting there at your desk, out in the field, wherever you are, and there's two things that you're supposed to do, of many, I'm sure, but when you're looking at those, it's like, which one's the higher priority? Well, they both have to get done, and I'll say, or do they? But it's really about managing yourself in relation to time, and it's also about, it's not so much about time management as it is choice management. And that, yeah, I think that resonated with quite a few of you. We know it has to get done, and not like I say, or does it, or am I the person that really needs to do it? But what we have to focus on is, what is the choice? So what we're going to look at today, and if you go out to the internet and you look up time management, you'll get tons of articles and books and blogs and podcasts and, I don't know, YouTube videos probably too, out there on how to manage your time better. But all of them will come up with some of the strategies that you see in your handout. And by the way, instead of giving you a handout that has all the slides, pretty much a lot of what you'll see will be here anyway. And when you look at this slide, these are some of the strategies that people have found that the time management gurus, if you will, are the most important. And in the time that we have allotted today, we won't go into complete detail on all of those, but we will hit some of the key ones, and I'll point out some suggestions, because that is what they are suggestions, best practices and tips for adapting to some of these. And the very first one is the one you see right there at the top, analyzing how you currently spend your time. So what I want from you all right now is a collective groan. Okay. Because what it means is exactly what you kind of see on the slide, is really taking time and analyze where you're currently spending your time. It's not about starting to throw quick fixes at it if you don't know what's stealing your time. And now I was doing this session one time and I had somebody who said, oh yeah, I remember this back in the 1980s. They called them time and motion studies. So if you heard about those, what everybody would do is panic, is because it meant somebody was going to get laid off. That's not what this is about, because this is, you're not being asked to share this with anybody. This is you taking that time to really analyze where you're spending your time. So my suggestion to you, and the reason why you can't really see that time tracking image up there, is because it's not about the tool. So you can go out to the internet and Google time tracking template, track my time, some combination of those, and you will get many options of what you can use to do it. But here's where it gets important. My recommendation to you is that you track your time for 2 weeks. Gurus will say 1 week. Yeah, boo. Gurus will say 1 week. Gayle says two weeks. So I guess maybe I'm not a guru. But the reason I say 2 weeks is because invariably you'll forget to do a day or a couple days, and this way you're getting a really good, clear picture of it. I also say do it when it's a normal week, at which point everybody goes, I don't have normal weeks. What I mean by that, if that's your answer, is you're right. Every week can be different, but what I mean by that is, okay, 2 weeks ago we had Memorial Weekend, don't do that week. Don't do the, in July, 7 people from your team, maybe 4 people from your team are going to be on vacation at the same time. Yeah, not that one either. The week between Christmas and New Year's, so you get the point. So you're tracking it for 2 weeks, and it also doesn't mean that you have to go, if you look at some of these templates that it will tell you every 15 minutes, you don't get that. I mean, get that nitty gritty if you're changing what you're doing every 15 minutes. But like for today, I left my house at 3 o'clock. I would have written recess for success. I wouldn't keep writing, and I'm not going to sit up here and go, every 15 minutes I'm still doing the same thing. But when I get home, that's when I draw one of those little squiggle lines that says, for that whole time period I was doing it. Track everything you do. How many of you have ever gotten up from your desk, out of the truck, wherever you are, and I'm just going to run to the break room for a minute? 45 minutes later?
6 minutes.
Okay. So that's why, yeah, I see some head shaking. That's why if you're getting up to go to the restroom, if you're getting up to go pick up something off the printer, if you're going to just go check on something, if you work, how many of you work from home? I'm just going to go start that load of laundry real quick. Right. So go ahead, track those things as well. And then the other piece of that is don't make changes in what you currently do. Make notes about it. If you figure out who is your biggest distractor, make notes, but don't change it. Just keep track of that. So the key behind it is now what you see here, which is also in your handout too, is the big piece of this. It's what you do with it when you're looking at it. So you're going to analyze your trends and patterns. When are you most productive? That's when you want to book the most important things you need to do. When are you least productive? So like for me, when I did this, I have determined my most productive time is between 9 and 11 a.m. Doesn't mean I'm not productive anytime else. 1:30 to 3:30 is also another pretty good one for me. But if I'm working on a project or something that really has a deadline that's important, that's critical, I block it for those times. My least productive time when my kids were little was probably they got out of school at 4, got home about 4:25, and I started noticing roughly about 3:45, my productivity dropped. Who has soccer? Who has dance? What's for dinner? What do they have? And so what I started to do is schedule my time, because that's going to be a big part of what we're going to talk about too, that's what I called my one-hit wonders. Things that would take a minute or two, still important, not just random things, but things that wouldn't take a lot of brain power or a lot of time for focus. So as an example, go back in that time, that's when I would have made the handouts for today. I could set that on the printer, I could send it to print, I could go do an email. How much time do you spend on high priority times, your low priority times? And then the infamous last one, or maybe I should say who, causes the majority of your disruptions? Don't go holler at them just yet. We'll talk about strategies here in a minute, but what could you do differently? So my suggestion to you is that you do this. Do you have every 6 months? No. Every year? Not necessarily. But if you see, like I've done it many times over the course of the years, it's when there's a major change. New technology is added, new job role, new, whatever might cause a major change. Once you've done that, now you get to do the infamous, and Alan Lakin is a time management person, that failing to plan is planning to fail. If somebody tells you, oh, I'm great at time management and I never write anything down, I just remember it up here and I go with the flow, go ask their colleagues how good they are. So what it comes down to here is, once we know where we spend our time, we have to look at what it is we have to do during those times. And we have to take those information and look at it from a standpoint of what is important and what is urgent. So some things are super important, some things are less important. Some things are super urgent, which I will challenge you on that here in just a little bit, and some things are less important. So by a show of hands, how many of you have heard of the urgent important matrix, the Eisenhower principle, the Eisenhower matrix? Any combination thereof is what this boils down to. And you see the example there on your page. And so as we talk about each of those quadrants, I'll give you a couple examples from mine, but then I'm going to ask you to not all 30 of you in the room, but it's like somebody just give me something that falls into whichever quadrant we're talking about. So when you look at this, let's talk about quadrant 1. Big thing, do now. These are the combination of things that are urgent and important. I have a tough time saying that first word, crisis, crises, whatever. Problems and deadlines. So notice the asterisks by crisis and problems. We'll come back to that here in a minute. Let's talk about deadlines. You know what they are. It means something has to be done by a certain time. You all were a deadline. This session, today, 4 o'clock, due now. So I build that into my daily schedule of everything I have to do. I'm doing some DISC training in June, later this month, 2 sessions in July. I have a process document that shows what's due when. Eventually some of those will become in. They don't all have to be done right now, but it's a due now. Crisis and problems, there's 2 types. The first type are the things you could not have planned for. 4 people not showing up to work. Machinery breaking down. Or could you have planned for that? So when you think about these, and is it really your crisis and your problem? Some of this will get shoved to a quadrant 3. So let's talk about 4 people not showing up to work. If that happens to be tomorrow, that's probably a crisis. I'll give you that one. If it's as the World Cup starts kicking in, is it the day after the Chiefs win the Super Bowl? You probably should have planned on that one ahead of time. Okay. Same thing with machinery, equipment, breakdowns. You walk in tomorrow, some piece of equipment just stopped working, probably a crisis, probably a problem.
Could have been averted.
What'd you say?
I said could have been averted
Yes. How?
by keeping up on the maintenance on their machinery,
Yeah. So if you've been
computers.
putting off the maintenance, the upgrade, think about your car, you hear the rattle, or no, you go out and you start for the last 2 weeks you've been trying to start your car and it's kind of getting a little sluggish and you know your battery is 3 years old. You know when it's going to die, don't you?
Right when you need it.
Right when you need it. Okay. So other than that, those are your quadrant 1. So what are some of the things that right now, just a couple of you would put into your quadrant 1?
For me, it's decisions that have to be made for my business overall.
Okay. So specific, and we would take that and put them, each decision could potentially fall in a different quadrant, but right now those are some of those. What's another one?
I work in nonprofit, and so for us this year, it was lobbying for VOCA funds and contacting our representatives and senators about those funds.
Yeah, so each of those contacts to those senators and those representatives is at a certain point in time, it's a due now, quadrant 1. At some point in time, it's probably a quadrant 2. And this is where all the time management gurus say, we fail. We put things in quadrant 2 and they sit there forever because they're not as urgent, but they are super important. Raise your hand if you're trying to grow your business. Raise your hand if you're trying to do networking. Raise your hand if there's a project you keep putting off. Okay, those are your quadrant 2s, by the way, because they are important, but they're not as urgent. No one is holding your feet to the fire for that. So long-term opportunities, progress. Remember that training I was telling you about in June and July? The one in July it's a month and a half away. That's why I have that process document that tells me on which day things are due. They're sitting there with dates. At some point, each one of those will move over to my quadrant 1. Think about growing your business. Think about networking. The reason they stay in quadrant 2, why do you think they stay over there?
A lot of times it's things that we don't want to do.
They're things, procrastination. They're things we don't want to do. Why else?
They haven't been delegated properly.
Okay, they haven't been delegated. Maybe we're not the right person. It's sitting in our quadrant 2 and somebody else could do it better.
Or integrated.
or integrated.
Not a have to.
It's not a have to. No one is holding, like I said a second ago, no one's holding your feet to the fire. Sometimes they're overwhelming. I got to do that networking. I got to call these people. And you were talking about it with calling for the senators and so forth. Do I really want to call 6 different people today? No, I'm going to work on something else. Make each one of those one. One person, one call, one networking, one 15-minute time period. Then they sit in quadrant 2 and you're like, okay, today I'm going to, and it moves over to your quadrant 1. It's a lot easier to do it that way than to look at it as the big bubble. So what are some of the things that are in your quadrant 2s that I didn't already say?
Right now I have, it's supposed to be a 90-day plan for a video, marketing video plan that I have. And I think I'm stretching it.
So it's a 90-day plan and we're on day, and I'm making this up, day 87 and nothing has been done. Yeah.
Zeroing in.
That's what happens. It's like, oh, it's 90 days out until it's not. Okay. So take those things and break them down into smaller subtasks. So let's look at quadrant 3, routine and maintenance. You already said that. These are things that just, they are or appear to be urgent, but the question I'll ask you is, are they your urgency? Or are they somebody else's urgency? And this could be with any of those quadrants. So things like doing maintenance, the routine task, those kind of pieces. Look at those and say, and this isn't going to be a session on delegation, but could somebody else do it better? If I train them how? It may take more time up front, but in the long run, it's better for them. This is also sometimes where there's a saying, poor planning on your part doesn't become
An emergency.
on my part. Because if you look at the matrix, it's urgent, but in your mind, it's not as important. Put it back where it belongs. What would be something right now, and I'm not holding you to this, but that might fall in your quadrant 3.
Sorting call lists.
Sorting what?
Call lists.
Sorting call lists. Okay. Anybody have another one?
Any data entry.
Okay, data entry. And why do we do some of those things rather than delegate?
No one does it better.
Of course. Now, nobody can load the dishwasher like I can. That one's actually true. Just ask my family.
Nobody will load the dishwasher like I do.
Yes. And like I said, that's a whole different skill set. And then there's your quadrant 4, distractions and trivial things. The infamous distribution lists. The meeting you go to once a week that you sit there and you wonder why. And you're like, I could be doing so much more. So a cross between delete and delegate. First of all, how many of you on a daily basis, you open up your email and you see 4 to 5 emails and you click, 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 delete without even opening them? No offense to any of you that are vendors to each other, okay, on this, but vendor lists, distribution lists, if you haven't opened it, you're like, oh, it just takes me a minute to go click, 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 delete. But how many times a day are you doing click, 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 delete? I'll go in periodically and I'll just say, I got one, and I go in and I unsubscribe. If I need them, I know where they are. So what could be some of your quadrant 4s?
Hey, you got a sec?
Yes. And we're going to talk about in here just a second. What do you do with the, hey, you got a sec?
I hate it.
What's another quadrant 4?
The phone.
Yeah, the phone. Doom scrolling. Okay. So once you've done this the first time, it's not like every day you're going to create an Eisenhower matrix, but over time, as things come across your desk, your email, wherever it comes to you from, you start very quickly going, this is a quadrant 3, I'm not doing it, who can? This is a quadrant 2, oh, I need to break it down and schedule it some better. And that's where you get into this. Plan your work and work your plan. Those rocks are the most important things. Those are probably where we need to be where we need to be spending more of our time. They tend to sit over in quadrant 2 and they don't get done. So plan those, schedule those first. So what I'm going to have you guys do, because like I said earlier, I'm going to borrow from the collective expertise in this room, because you're not here because all 30-ish of you are horrible time managers. You have skills, you have things you do that have helped that the people, and I'll say at your table, but elsewhere, could benefit from your expertise. So I'm going to have you very quickly, I'm going to attempt to do this quickly, number off in 3s, because I want you with different people than who's at your table right now. So we'll just start here, and I do the 1, 2, 3 in case you forget what number we're at. So we'll just start here.
3.
1,
2. 2.
3. 2.
Oh, yeah, 3. I know. Yeah, 3.
2. 3.
2. 3.
1. 2. 2.
3. I caught you. 3.
1. 2.
3.
1.
Okay, 1s, I want you to go to the back of the room. You're going to take this first question. How do you plan your day and keep focused on what's most important? 2s, I want you over here. How do you get started and keep moving? That infamous procrastination. 3s, on this side of the room, handling disruptions and time wasters. And I'm going to give you roughly about 5-7 minutes, so make it productive, because you will be sharing this with the rest of the group.
Yeah. Oops, sorry.
Just go.
1s are in the back, 2s are over here, 3s are on this side.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, 3s would be here, 3s would be here, 1s and 2s. And I'll move all my handouts out of your way.
Okay, so for me, I close my email, I turn my phone upside down, and for me, that's disruption. So my phone is disruption. I'm a big time blocker. If I can time block 50% of my day, it's successful. So for me, I sometimes get like 25% less than, but for me, really it's the incoming notifications, phone calls. If I have 1 hour of truly no interruptions, it's like 4 hours of work. So for me, that is my number one thing, is truly closing the email.
We had that in our office, and then we put in do not disturb signs that you can put on the outside, because we do have a door that you can close, even though it's got a window. So if someone walks by and it says do not disturb, then they know, hey, don't knock on the door. If it doesn't say that, then you can knock on the door and come on in. Then you can designate that time.
I had a boss once, right there, and that's Mark's brief, so right, he's gone. Yeah, he'd be staring at
It's
you.
hard because it's on your phone. It's right there. Why print it off? It's so old school, but having it printed off, so you can make
But there's
notes.
something about that list you could just go, done, checked.
I don't like
And
the
when it's on your desk, you keep
schedule.
going back,
I like
keep
that.
seeing it. You know, don't have it covered by other windows and other things on your
I have
computer.
friends who do everything, use their
Take notes.
PC at all, and I don't like this. I'm old school enough that I want my PC in front of me.
I'm doing remodeling, so it's really hard for me to stay focused.
those are actually willful distractions on my part because whatever is on my time blocked calendar feels difficult or intimidating, or I'm afraid I might fail, or I'm overthinking it. And so I'll say, oh, well, this email just came in, let me just respond to that. Which goes back to just being on myself about why am I spending my time away in this moment and what can shift to get back on track.
But they have those where you can put certain emails in certain buckets. So the ones that aren't important, you can go look at later. But it's,
Exactly.
But there's an email that way could be helpful.
There's so many times that clients will say, did you get my last email? And I'm like, I did. And I got sidetracked. I just keep blaming that on us.
They're not going to argue. I can't.
No one argues.
That's true. I can't even.
Oh, you can? I thought you said I couldn't. I was like, yeah.
I've got that in my house. That's all day long.
Everybody else and myself, a lot of my time if you're I do promotional products, so a lot of it is working with clients that don't get back with you even though you said because they need their stuff in 6 days and you told them that you need to prove this artwork and they don't. So a lot of that I can't have a plan because I have to drop this to get back or I'm not getting the order even though
You have about a couple more minutes, and also identify who the person at your table will be the spokesperson.
What I'm working on, unless it's an emergency or something. I'm just like,
I'm thinking about my company, and I feel like we have people in the wrong places, because they don't like what they're doing, but they would like to sit over here, but this person would like this. That company should do that more. They should like assess.
they coming into my office, they were, but they kind of achieved that, so then they knew that that was kind of my time.
Right. Someone mentioned that, saying, I recognize that this is important, can we schedule a time? I recall situations where I would have to say, is this urgent to you at this moment? I mean, is it something that I need to drop everything and take care of it right now? Or, can you do this? Oh, yeah.
I am calling.
And I'll call you. So I have.
Then all of a sudden, now it's moved into bucket one.
Just asking more questions to protect my time. I mean, nights, weekends, it's really is a constant. And so there are things that Saturday and someone's reaching out to me. I do have to ask, are you writing an offer today, or is this something that we can? I mean, and it's just a really valid thing because I do, and it's from an outside perspective, consumers don't know that they expecting their time. So
I assume that you have found somewhere else to go. So I'm not going to bother you. But yeah,
Okay, I'm going to stop you. And if you haven't already, go ahead and stay with your group for right now. But make sure you have a person who's going to be the spokesperson for your table. And spokesperson, you're only responsible for saying 2 to 3 of the items that your team came up with. And because I would be remiss if I didn't give you some suggestions along the way, we're going to go in order because my next slides go with this order here. The other thing, for those of you who looked at the very last page of your handout, everything you're going to see on my subsequent slides for suggestions are all in the back too. But we're going to start up here with number 1, daily planning. How do you plan your day and keep focused on what's most important? Who is your spokesperson?
Okay. Somebody. need to help you with notes. Oh, sure. Well, okay, a couple of things that we talked about are first of all, either daily or weekly connections with your teammates on your team. So if it's a daily huddle or a weekly huddle or meeting, and if you're a one-person show, then have that meeting with yourself. Okay, have that, look at that calendar, look at whatever it is, so we're not just always flying by the seat of our pants. We also, something I heard a long time ago, they say a lot of times, always prioritize your calendar. Or if you change that a bit and you focus on calendar your priorities. So if you're just focused on prioritizing your calendar, you can have a whole bunch of stuff on a calendar that's not all that important. You spend a lot of time on. So really just focusing on the big rocks that's important on there. And then also just another tip that was written down here, and it's helped. I definitely know it's helped me. It's taken a while because it didn't seem necessary, but actually printing your daily calendar and having it on your desk. Okay, I know that seems archaic and old school, but because everything is digital, but having your calendar current on your desk where you can make notes, see it every time you're looking at it, it does help you get back on track when we're pulled off so often. So, a couple of few things.
So, round of applause for this team. Thank you. Any quick suggestion related to number one from either of the other two tables? Just like, oh, that made me think of.
I think it's helpful to do a look at your schedule either the night before or the Sunday before, so that you really have an idea of what is happening.
Okay. All right.
I do. I'm really old school, and I know it, but I keep a planner. And I write on there, on one page, I put down the things that I know I've got to do tomorrow. And I look at those things, and then I also, on the other side, I take it right across that way, and I record the things that I did in addition to those things that I said I needed to do. So I kind of keep myself accountable too. Was that really necessary? That kind of thing.
And I'm going to point out something, you guys, and I heard it at least twice, maybe 3 times, is raise your hand if you would call yourself old school, meaning you're printing things out for that purpose, okay? Now, pat yourself on the back. Okay. Now, if you would say you're new school and you use your phone for all of this kind of stuff, raise your hand. Okay. Pat yourself on the back also. Okay. Because one of the, and the reason I say that is one of the problems that people think of with time management, and you'll notice I have not shown you any tools, and I'm not going to show you any tools, because you have to find what works for you. If you are a person that it really helps you to have a physical calendar, don't feel bad because the person seated next to you goes, you could do that on your iPad, but you don't like to. That's okay. And vice versa. You need to print out your calendar. No, it's right here on my phone. That's the same for any kind of tool. We have to find what works for you. And that can be one of the reasons why some people are challenged with time management is they're trying to use the wrong tool because it doesn't work for them. And that's why I don't show you any tools whatsoever, because what works for me might not work for you. So these are the bullets that are in your handout already. And the big one is that short-term versus long-term. Where we tend to struggle is those things that show up in quadrant 2 are our long-term pieces. And we need to, and I loved how this group said it, calendar your priorities rather than prioritize your calendar. We need to get those quadrant 2 things onto our daily to-do list when it makes sense. You need to schedule for some of that rather than leaving them in quadrant 2. You already said it, write it down the night before. Brian Tracy says that when you do that, and try it, maybe it works for you, maybe it doesn't, but when you do, it's amazing how much better you'll sleep. Because you'll already wake up the next day at least having a framework for how you think you're going to spend your day. One of the groups, and it wasn't this group, I think it was actually over here talking about sometimes they procrastinate because it just seems so overwhelming. That's that 4th bullet. Take what seems overwhelming and break it down into the different pieces. I'm writing a proposal for a client right now, and I hate doing that. But if I break it down into the background information, what my recommendation is, the fees, I can begin to get a little bit of progress on it because I take it a little bit at a time. That's kind of your subset. The old school 1, 2, 3, ABCs still work. Keep it with you or choose specifically not to keep it with you. That's my out. I will go to meetings and I will not take my calendar because I am, if this is you, I'm inclined to try to say, yes, I can do that. And then I realize I shouldn't have because it's going to cause me a problem time-wise. So I always tell people, let me get back to you with some dates. And I choose purposely not to take my calendar for that reason. How many of you love to just mark something off, you write it on your to-do list, so you've already done it, but you can mark it off?
It's a wonderful feeling.
It is. It's a wonderful feeling. And then make appointments with yourself. I think one of the other groups said something, so I'm going to leave that one for right now and come back to it. But those are all some things. It's about having that daily plan. So now let's go to group 2. What were the suggestions you guys came up with for avoiding procrastination? And that's you guys, yes?
Jeffrey had a good one.
Thanks, Joel.
Okay.
I did have a good one.
I'll go ahead
You
and
almost just mentioned it. I'm afraid. Okay. One of the things I had mentioned is I make myself due date, even though it's a fictitious due date, so I can get it done. Right? Like I gotta call Sally, so I'll set myself a time to call Sally, set an appointment with her, and then now I have a deadline, so it's moved from 2 quadrant to 1 quadrant, because now I have to get it done. Some of the other suggestions that came up were having your, I wrote them down somewhere, the planner, everyone putting it on their calendar is one opportunity for people to do that, where you just schedule it in your calendar and you don't forget it. Bill had, when you make your list, figuring out right away in the morning or whenever you make your list, can you delegate it? Can you, what we did 3? Delete it or integrate it. You have another one.
Menopause.
That is an excuse I've used so many times. Gets me out of anything and everything all the time. It's amazing. So when in doubt, just hit menopause and you're good. That's the last button.
I don't know that we can come up with anything better than that one.
That might be the explode button, I'm not sure. Someone else had another good one. Mike, you had one.
Organize tomorrow, today.
Yes. Yeah.
Be intentional.
Yep. Be intentional. Yeah.
What was
Don't get
the sign?
distracted.
Wait, what was the sign?
Be brief, be bright, be gone.
I think most of us realize we do procrastinate, but trying to have your own personal tricks that get you past that procrastination is, like you said earlier, it's got to work for you.
Okay. All right. Let's give this table a round of applause. Any quick suggestions from the other 2 tables?
Don't procrastinate on it, people.
And you start to see that they begin to overlap, right? Okay. The biggest reason for procrastination is we look at it, it's overwhelming. And I'll say that again, break it down into the smaller tasks and then schedule each of those tasks. Some people will say, oh, I like to get a lot of easy things done and then I'll tackle the hardest. I will tell you, what tends to happen is all you're doing is procrastinating that overwhelming thing.
I have a frog on my desk, and the phrase is eat the frog. And I'm like, oh, I gotta eat the frog.
Yeah, eat the frog, just do it.
So if I leave it on my desk, it's visible, it's like a reminder.
Yeah. And also that thing you're procrastinating, after you've done your time analysis and you know when you're most productive, make sure you schedule it then. Don't schedule it at my 3:45 time period because all I'm going to do is procrastinate it. Be, as you guys said, intentional with that. Reward yourself.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Give yourself like.
Cocktail. I mean.
I think I heard mocktail there. No. And the other thing is set a designated amount of time. I'm going to work on this for. And it doesn't have to be 6 hours. It might be 30 minutes. And it's amazing when you get going, you get that momentum, And all of a sudden, when your 30 minutes is up, you don't want to stop because you are on a roll. So continue to go with it. Unless you have a meeting, then you have to stop. Or maybe you don't. And then there's sting, and this is, again, for that procrastination. It is in your handout, but you select that task to do. So I use my proposal. I'm going to sit down with this. I am going to write up the background information on this proposal. Okay. Time yourself. I'm giving myself 30 minutes to do this, whatever works for you. Ignore everything else. Turn the phone off. Silence it. Don't go looking at email. Go to another room if you have to. No breaks, and then again, give yourself a reward when the time is up. Now that also, both these two, number 1 and number 2, sound great till we get to this. The disruptions and the time wasters. So let's turn it over to our third group. Who's your spokesperson?
Kirby.
Yeah.
I had to borrow a pen so I could.
So we had a lot of great ideas in this area. I'm just going to touch on a few because I did not have a pen with me and I did not write them all up. Now, but there are sometimes, and I think we just sort of covered it, that we need to block out time because it can be the most productive time that we have. To be able to set out an hour where nothing will touch it can be, multiplied in terms of its value. People will tend, and we have some unusual business situations here, like a mortgage lender and a service provider, where those people need to be accessible, but it can get really obnoxious if it becomes a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week thing. So we need to be able to defend the time. So with regard to that, one of the great suggestions was, to address the person who's coming to you and say, this is obviously a very important topic, and I want to be able to give it the time it deserves. Can we set a time, X period of time in the future and lock that down? And the corollary to that, and thinking, I think, specifically of like when a boss comes to you and says, I want this right now, to kind of try to judge or try to gauge, is this something that I need to drop everything for? Or, give me an idea of how urgent this is. Is it something that I can address, tomorrow or, at a time of my convenience, soon, that I will be able to address it fully and effectively? I made that up.
Okay. Round of applause for this group. Any suggestions from the other 2 tables?
I have people that constantly walk into my office because my walls are glass. So they can see I'm in there, they can't always see I'm in a meeting. So I actually bought a sign that says, in a meeting, and I hang it from my door, so they know not to interrupt me when I've got the sign on the door.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah. Here, yes.
One of the things that I heard that is really helpful with people that can't stop those interruptions, like phone calls and things like that, is taking a second to write down what you're working on, to just know, like a placeholder, like, okay, I was in the middle of this before you pick up the phone.
Yeah.
That way it's easier for your mind to go back into what you were doing rather than like, now I have to like refocus or figure out where I was. You're just able to like say, I was in the middle of project X, and then pick up the phone if you have to, if you can't control.
And that's a great thing because a lot of people say, oh, I'm good at multitasking.
No.
Look it up. We're not. All I have to say is be watching TV and on your iPad at the same time, and how many times are you taking that remote going, what'd they say?
In conjunction with setting time blocks in my day for my meetings, I also have a time block for returning phone calls. So if I'm in a meeting and a client calls, my administrator lets them know I can't speak to them about that right now, but I can get back to them at this time or later in the evening.
So it's all about, it's the cross between choice managing and managing yourself in relation to time. And that first one, and you guys said it, not overcommitting, especially with the boss. It's like, you have me working on this and now you want me to do this. Figure out your sentence ahead of time, but then it's like, which do you think is most important and where do you want me to focus my energy? Because I can't do both.
One thing that I think is important too is, that I didn't mention, when you've got that person in front of you and you set a time, first of all, be realistic with how long it's going to take you to complete this task. And secondly, make sure that you follow through with that. If you don't, you lose credibility.
Yeah.
They just think they've been blown off and, so I think that's really important too.
Yeah. And speaking to and it's honoring your commitments. And speaking to the group, the mortgage banker, the customer service, and the people were, short of being a 911 operator, okay? This probably doesn't work for them. But scheduling that uninterrupted time and let others know. Just, I really need to focus on, I need 30 minutes. Can I get back to you then? Or is this so urgent that you need my attention right now? I used to tell my kids I'd shut the door. And it's like, do not open this door unless the house is on fire or you are bleeding profusely. Now, in the workplace, you have to come up with your own little statement about that. We already talked about turning off devices. You already said setting specific times to address the email, the visitors. Yes?
Sometimes I have problems with clients because I do remodeling and they want to come and talk to me and I'm trying to do something, or they want, hey, take a look at this and we're going to do this and we're going to do this next year, and okay, so how do you want to be nice and you don't want to tell them, hey, let me finish this, and so you do run up against that.
Well, and I think it's important to say, what you're telling me sounds important, and I want to make sure and give you the time for that you would like, but I don't want to mess up whatever you're working on then, so I really need to focus. Can I come find you in about 15, 20 minutes?
Well, and I'd even turn it around and say, I'm focused on this job for this individual right now, or for this person right now, and I want to give them just as much attention, so that when I'm coming to do your job, I'm going to give your job just as much attention.
Yeah. And the other thing, hold up the mirror, and think about yourself. Are you the disruptor? And I don't mean of your own time, I mean of somebody else's time. And so start doing that in reverse. Like you said, losing the trust and so forth. Well, make sure you're not the person that's giving that helps give them the reason to come interrupt you, because you interrupt them all the time. I've had people say that they will put headsets on, because, and you were talking about being in a glass thing, to make them think you're in a meeting, put on a headset. My husband, when he works remotely now, but they used to do that in their office. They would all do that, and so you don't know. And so you're not going to interrupt somebody who has on a headset. Most of the time they weren't even listening to anything, okay? It's all about the illusion there. So any other things before I have you go back to your seats? Meeting management principles. Get rid of comfortable chairs if you have the office type piece. Go hibernate. Go if you have a conference room, some of those kind of things. Schedule your time, really block it out on your calendar so that people don't schedule meetings with you, or some other ones to help you. But it all starts with what's the priority.
Hide in the bathroom.
Hide in the bathroom. Yeah. I had one person who's kind of like this. His office was by the break room, and so people would constantly just pop in, and if he needed to work, he got to the point where he literally had to shut the door and he'd get under his desk on his laptop. At least that's what he told us all. Whether it's real or not, I don't know. But tell the group you're with thank you, and I'll let you go ahead and head back to your seats.
Thank you for even think of me.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
But as we get ready here to wrap up, what's important here is there are a lot of different strategies. And I'm sure you came up with some others at your table, and you'll come up with others on your own. But it really comes down to taking this twist on the Eisenhower matrix. Is at the end of the day, And you were talking about scheduling for tomorrow. I had that lull, kind of that, I'll call it my 3:45 thing before I was leaving to come here. I'm like, ooh, what am I going to do right now? And so I sat down and I made my to-do list for tomorrow. It wasn't technically end of the day. But a couple other things, meeting management, stand-up meetings, people will stay a lot less if you're standing. If you can get somebody and they're like, oh, do you have a couple of minutes? And you're like, I have done this. I do, but you know what? I need to run to the restroom. Can I come find you? It's always an excuse. I drink so much water, nobody ever doubted it. But then you go to them and you stay standing because then it's easier to leave. So just little tricks of the trade. But at the end of the day, what we're looking at is, did I, and this is just up there on the slide, did I do my best to truly evaluate urgencies? Are they really my urgency or are they somebody else's? Are they taking a precedence over something that's more important? Quadrant 2, am I making progress on important items? If they keep sitting there in quadrant 2, one of two things is going to happen. They're eventually going to fall into quadrant 1 as an emergency, or if it's like growing your business, that could become an emergency too if your business doesn't grow. But the whole networking and some of those sales calls and those things that we put off, schedule them. Break them into those smaller tasks so that you can make progress. Quadrant 3, did I do my best to delegate when appropriate? Number 4, did I try to do my best to eliminate those time wasters? Doesn't mean you're dumping it on somebody else though. So what I'm going to ask you to do, because everything we've talked about is only as good as what you do when you leave here, is at the bottom of that, kind of the second to the last page, is an action plan. And I've lost my handout. No telling what I did with it. I guess that would be another time management thing. Know where you put your stuff. But when you get to that, what I call second to last page with, it's like, oh, she got quiet. Why did she get quiet? Because I can't turn the page. Can't turn the page with a microphone in my hand. Those 2 questions that are there. What's one thing I spend time on that doesn't move my business forward? And what is one high impact activity I need to spend more time on? And then here you go, your first 3 steps. Bless you. Your first 3 steps to getting that done. And then who's going to be your accountability partner? Maybe that's the person in here with you. Maybe it's somebody back at your job site. Don't all use Matt as your accountability partner. Because then he's going to start saying, is this really urgent right now? Some of you can use him because some of you work with him. And then for a little bit of accountability at your table, each person go around and say one thing that you took away from today that you're either a tip or you're going to take action on. This is June 2nd, that you're going to take action on by June 30th. So talk with the people at your table. This is your pseudo accountability partners.
So they can really see what a normal day looks like, and then pick up what's, and I can see first off what's not working, what's working.
Something that I might observe too.
What's your takeaway, or what are you gonna do in your life? What do you want to do?
Write that off.
Yeah, but they don't. Yeah. And then they'll look at your screen and see what.
I end up doing that when you're in college, you can do anything, so you can do everything. You end up doing nothing.
follow up.
No wonder, yeah. I haven't added a lot, you know.
Yeah.
I'm in third grade here,
But you know, you have things like the dishwasher and the laundry and the carpet and fixing the car, and I want to go take this trip and I need to plan that. So you still have
Come
to.
over and declutter my house if you need to.
The trick to that is decide you're going to move. It's amazing what you can declutter if you decide to move.
We got 9 grandkids, my wife's professional babysitter, and it doesn't help me.
Get some of those kids involved. Here's a box. You're going to get this box when I die. Do you want what's in here? I can guarantee you they'll throw most of it away. Okay, so the last thing for us today is just a quote that I put up on the slide or on the screen. And this has been something that has helped me immensely through my own time management travels, which is when you're sitting there and you're doing something, whatever it is, if you keep this in the back of your mind. I was actually at a training session, and the presenter said this, and this was my aha. What is the best use of my time right now? And I have found myself using that so many times that in 2 different versions. So take the doom scrolling. I'm scrolling, and I just stop myself. Is this the best use of my time right now? No, it's not. So what is? And then I go back to my to-do list. I go back to my plan. Where should I be? And then it comes back. What is the best use of my time right now? You find yourself with a surprise. You have 30 minutes because somebody canceled, a meeting canceled, something got moved. Don't pick up and start doom scrolling. Don't go check emails. Stop and think first. What is the best use of my time right now? I've got this 30 minutes. Where can I have the biggest impact? What's most important? Not necessarily what's most urgent. Okay. So what questions or final thoughts or any suggestions that you have before we wrap up today?
When we were talking about the calendars and using what works best for you, whether it's the digital or the old school, if you have a team that's a mix of that and you're trying to get everyone on the same platform, do you have suggestions for how to navigate that old school versus new school mentality?
What about any of the rest of you? The question is, you have some people that want to go old school, some people want to go new school. It's a team. You need to have some kind of tool. Have you found something that works for you? And how have you navigated that?
The thing that I think that's most, because all of it is digital now. Well, I say that. Most of it is digital now. Some people, like I just choose to have it printed off for me. So I guess to me would be the daily, whatever communication huddle or just time to reflect your day at a glance, just making sure that becomes a standard. I don't think it's necessarily, I could be wrong, but I don't think it's what everybody's preference is, whatever you're using the most at the highest level, but at the same time, is your calendar filled out? Do you have a ton of white space? Do you have a ton of blank space, or do you have a calendar that is, a living and breathing thing? I think if it's talked about and part of your daily meeting, I don't know if it necessarily matters which way you're doing it, as long as you're using it.
And sometimes people don't want to move forward because of fear.
Yeah.
So you might approach each person and say, tell me what you like about this, or tell me what might concern you about going this way. And then you can address those things for both people and find what works best for the team if you really need to coordinate everybody to be the same.
Yeah, and both those two are excellent suggestions. My add to that would be, is like if your organization is using a tool and everybody needs to adapt to that tool, then everybody needs to adapt to that tool. You need to have the conversation with them about why and what their angst is about using this tool. But then after that, if they're using that tool but still want to print out for themselves, then I'm okay with that. Or vice versa, okay, we're printing, and this person says, I like to have it on my phone. That's okay, but all of us, the whole organization is using this tool. Any other thoughts or questions?
Don't let everybody in your business have your access to your calendar, because they just like to add stuff to it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's that. But what I also learned to do with that is go block your own calendar out.
Yes. Don't tell them that.
But I would put bogus, I call them bogus, but I would put meetings and block my time out.
I do a lot of traveling through the community, speaking engagements, things like that, and I always block off travel. Because inevitably, somebody will put a meeting right when I'm supposed to be, somewhere else, but right up against it, so.
Yeah, yeah, give yourself that buffer. And maybe it's not even from a travel perspective, but you know what? Meeting A runs a little over, or meeting A doesn't, but you know what? You need a few minutes to process, or you need to go refill your water, you need to go to the bathroom, whatever it is, give yourself that time to have that brain recharge.
Yeah, I scheduled something today to get a band added steps to it. I just didn't put it on my schedule and forgot about it. Of course, they called when they got here.
Yeah, yep. Well, I want to thank you guys, but the key thing that I'll leave you with, besides the statement on the slide, is everything we've talked about is only as good as what you do when you leave here. I'm not going to be chasing you down going, hey, did you make a to-do list? I will if you want me to, but you'll have to pay me to do that. But again, it's about that accountability. So look, find people and try it. You don't have to try everything all at one time going. I could get the biggest bang for my buck right here if I did these 2 things first and see how that works for you. So thank you guys. I enjoyed it. Now, I'm not giving you back any additional time, so I can't ask you that question. But what's going to be the best use of your time when you leave here? So thank you.